Welcome to Biz Filing's Expert Insights.
Hi, I'm Greg Corombos. Our guest this week on Expert Insights is Gene Marks. He's head of the Marks Group, as well as a speaker and writer. He joins us to discuss what he thinks will be some of the top issues for business owners in 2019. And Gene, thanks so much for being with us again. Happy New Year.
Hey, Greg, thanks for having me on, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Well, the biggest difference this year, I'm guessing, for business owners is the tax code. The law was passed in late 2017, but this is the first time individuals and businesses are actually filing returns under the new provisions. I'm hopeful that most business owners have already had some conversations about the changes with their accounting teams, but what do you see as the biggest changes from this new law now over a year old for business owners going forward?
Well, first of all, you and me both, we should have been having this conversation like a year ago, right? So we could say to all the business owners, you got to talk to your accountants. I'm finding, look, I'm a CPA, but, I also write a lot. I write every week for the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Guardian and Forbes, so I speak to a lot of business owners around the country, and a lot of them are still not completely aware of some of the big impacts that taxes will have on their businesses going forward. So, if you haven't done your tax planning for 2018, that kind of ship has sailed. But let me just give you a few hints of some big tax impacts for you in 2019 that you want to talk to your accountant about. The first is that, there's been big changes for pass-through organizations. And those are companies that are like S corporations and partnerships and limited liability companies. Well, for many of them, they're looking at a big 20% deduction on their pass-through income, which means that 20% of their income won't be taxed this year and years going forward. And on top of that, a lot of people in the range of the typical small business owner are going to be looking at lower individual rates as well. So if you haven't already, you might want to talk to your accountant about what the impact is of the pass-through deduction. Remember that corporate rates have also dropped from 35 to 21%. So one of the things you might want to talk to your accountant about as well is if you're a pass-through organization, does it make sense to change to a corporation, a C corporation, or if you're a C corporation, maybe it makes sense to become a pass-through. So there's some big questions about your tax entity status that you should be having with your accountant. One final thing that I'll mention about taxes, big changes in the deductibility of capital equipment. So you can now deduct up to $1 million in equipment that you buy. That's equipment, some furniture and fixtures, computer equipment as well. And just remember, Greg, you don't have to pay for this equipment. You can buy it, finance it while interest rates are still relatively low. And as long as you put it into service, you can get the full deduction for it as well. So if you've been having a good year, 2018 was good. If you think 2019 is still going to continue to be good, now's a great time to make some investments and get some big tax benefits from doing that.
Gene, let's talk briefly about those who have had the conversation with their accounting teams a while ago now, whether it's the new rates, whether it's the new advantages on depreciation and so forth. How is that changing how small businesses are prioritizing either short-term or long-term?
Well, here's what I think. Whenever I hear people were talking last year about whether or not the tax changes are going to affect them, I found that a lot of my clients didn't really know until they sat down and talked with us and we could work through the numbers. I am going to bet when the typical small business owner does their taxes in March or April, they're going to find that they saved more than they were expecting to find. And when that happens, that means that they are going to have some excess cash left over. And I'm expecting to see a lot of business owners reinvest that cash in their business. The biggest impact I think we're going to see happen, Greg, this year is the impact on wages. Business owners, there was just a report that came out last week that, hiring by small business has dipped a little bit. And some people are reading into that as a potential weakness in the economy. What I see is that we just can't find people. It's a very competitive atmosphere out there, and we're up against big companies and the government that can offer more benefits or more salaries. I think, and you ask about the tax law and how that will impact people, I expect to see this year that a lot of business owners are going to be using some of those savings to either bump up some wages for their existing employees to keep them happy and loyal and coming back, and maybe use it to hopefully do a little bit more hiring and be more competitive with some of the larger companies they're up against.
We're talking with Gene Marks, head of the Marks Group, well-known speaker and writer in the small business community. And Gene, you mentioned that the hiring numbers inside the business community, you have some folks wondering about the strength of the economy. A lot of folks over the last several weeks also looking at the volatility in the markets, which had been on a steady incline over the past couple of years, but the last few months have been a little bit of a roller coaster, to say the least. So first of all, do you see it more of as a correction or ongoing volatility, and how do business owners prepare for that either way?
I am look with my crystal ball. If it was right every time, I would, I probably wouldn't be talking to you. I'd retired by now. But listen, we've had a lot of volatility in the markets. I think we're going to continue to see volatility into 2019. Having said that, the fundamentals, Greg, of the economy are still good and they're still strong. And even though there are some potential challenges, there's some slowdown in global production. There's potential challenges with trade. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on in Washington between the White House and Congress, and a lot of potential things that might disrupt some of the certainties that we've been used to. The economy is still fundamentally good. Tax rates are lower. Regulations have been pulled back. Most of the companies I know are still in a growth mode. So when I look at the market for next year, I'm expecting it to rise. It fell about 8% in 2018, but I do expect when the year is over next year for the market itself to have recovered. Just bear in mind, Greg, there's, the interesting thing going on behind the scenes is all about interest. I mean, interest rates have doubled from what they were just 10 years ago. And they're going to continue to go up even more if the Fed continues to raise rates as they plan. And when you think about it, now, we have options, which means that a lot of investors just a few years ago had few places to put their money. Rather, they could invest it in, put it under their mattress or put it in the stock market. But now interest rates, because they've gone up, gives options. We can invest in bonds. We can put money away in savings more than we're getting more of a return on that. And I think that's going to pull a little bit of money out of the markets as well and have an impact on the market. So we're certainly not going to see the kind of returns that we saw back in 2016 and 17. But I still think the markets itself will have decent returns in 2019.
We've talked about the tax code. We've talked about the overall health of the economy. What else are you encouraging business owners to focus on here in the new year?
I think this year, if you're going to be making investments, you should be looking at technologies in 2019. The smartest companies that I know, they're looking at, a diminished workforce or a more competitive workforce. They're trying to be competitive. They're trying to keep their overhead low. And the smarter people are investing in technologies. And the best technologies that are coming to market over the next couple of years will be leveraging artificial intelligence. We'll be automating things. So if you're a business owner and you've got a good accounting system or a customer relationship management system, a communication system, you want to be spending money on upgrading those systems, getting better training, and configuring more and more automation and workflow as they become available so that you can do more with less people, because that is what larger companies are doing right now, and they know what they're doing and they see what the future is. And although you and I can argue about what that means for workers in the future, my concern is with the business owners. And the smartest ones are operating more efficiently with less people and more technology. That should be a big focus in 2019.
In addition to the big projects of 2019, there's also the way business owners spend their time. I remember in our previous conversation, we were talking about your recently published book, Manufacturer's Book of Lists, and you talked about what a big fan of lists you were and how it helps business owners to be far more efficient and to focus on the things that they're good at. So any particular lists that have you fired up this year?
Well, no particular list as well, but I can say that, this year in 2019, people are looking, to be fairly busy, but it is a year to take a step back as well and to try and keep things as balanced as possible. I mean, the smartest business owners I know are the ones that do balance their personal time and their professional time, together so that they can be refreshed and feel good and feel better about themselves. The other thing I'm telling a lot of our clients to do, only because, Greg, it's worked really well for me is to try and join like a local business group, an association, or even, a lot of people have, mentor groups, like advisory councils that they join up with, networking groups where they can share ideas and thoughts with other business owners that have similar problems, but they might be in different industries. It's a really good use of your time is to share and also try and get knowledge from all the other people that are going through all the headaches that we're all going through every day. You get good advice from people that have their feet on the ground.
Well, terrific advice. And while there certainly are always challenges in the business environment, sounds like you're pretty bullish overall for 2019.
Yeah, I think 2019 is going to be a good year. I mean, there will be obviously some volatility. You never know, what can happen, but the fundamentals are fine. I think you got to keep your eye on the ball. And I also think one final thing, as good a year as I think 2019 is going to be, at some point, we are going to have a recession. I don't think it'll be a collapse like it was in 2009, but it is a normal cyclical thing. So if you're running a business, remember your employees, your customers, your suppliers, and all their families that are relying on you to make the right decisions to keep your business in business for the long term. So you have to be preparing for a potential downturn when it's going to happen, and it will happen sometime in the next couple of years. Make sure that you've thought through what you're going to do when you see that happening so you can navigate your business through it and continue to grow. Excellent insight. As always, Gene, where can folks find you or the Marks Group? Best place to find me is on Twitter. It's at Gene Marks, GeneMarks. That's the best place to connect with me. Fantastic. Well, we appreciate your insights, and we look forward to hopefully a lot of the bright spots panning out for a lot of business owners here in the new year. Thanks for your time today. Thanks, Greg. Look forward to speaking again. Thank you, sir. Gene Marks is head of the Marks Group. He's a well-known speaker and writer in the small business community. I'm Greg Corombos, and for more information on this topic, please call Biz Filings at 844-202-0707.
Biz Filings, a Wolters Kluwer company, has been incorporating businesses since 1996.